Victoria Hartford grabbed the crystal wine glass and threw it directly into Serena's face. "That's for contaminating my family for 4 years, you filthy orphan." The red liquid dripped down Serena's cheeks, mixing with her tears. Brandon shoved divorce papers into her trembling hands. "Sign it." 200 guests watched. Cameras recorded. His mistress laughed. And Serena signed, not knowing that in 3 hours she would discover she was worth more than everyone in that room combined. The Hartfords had just made the biggest mistake of their lives. If you believe karma is real and love watching cruel people get exactly what they deserve, you need to hear this story. Subscribe now and turn on notifications. Comment your city below. I want to see how far Serena's revenge travels. What happens next? You won't believe it. Sign it. Brandon's voice was ice cold. Serena stared at the divorce papers, wine still dripping from her face. Her hands wouldn't stop shaking. "Brandon, please. It's Christmas Eve. Can we just talk about—" "There's nothing to talk about." He grabbed her wrist and shoved the pen into her palm. "Sign. Now." Victoria Hartford stepped closer, diamonds glittering at her throat. "Did you hear my son? Or are you too stupid to understand simple English?" "I gave you 4 years." Serena's voice cracked. "I worked 3 jobs. I supported your son. I did everything. Everything." Victoria laughed. "You scrubbed our toilets. You served our guests. That's not a wife. That's a maid who got confused about her place." The guests murmured. Someone chuckled. Camille, the woman in the champagne gown, tightened her grip on Brandon's arm. "Baby, this is taking forever. Can't security just drag her out?" "1 minute, sweetheart." Brandon turned back to Serena. "You have 2 choices. Sign the papers and walk out with $500, or refuse and I'll have you thrown out with nothing. Either way, this marriage is over." "And then, $500? That's—" Serena's voice rose. 4 years of my life and you're giving me $500. You should be grateful." Richard Hartford's whiskey breath hit her face as he leaned in. "You came from garbage, state facility trash. The fact that my son even looked at you was charity." "Dad's right." Priscilla Hartford held up her phone, red recording light blinking. 50,000 people watching live right now. Say hi to the internet, Serena. They're all laughing at you." Serena looked around the room. 200 faces, some uncomfortable. Most entertained. Not one person stepping forward to help. "Brandon." She tried one last time. "I loved you. Doesn't that mean anything?" He actually smiled. "Love, Serena, I felt sorry for you. There's a difference. You were a project. A charity case. And now the project is over." Camille giggled. "Oh my God, she actually thought he loved her. That's so sad." "Sign the papers." Victoria's patience was gone. "I won't ask again." Serena looked at the document. Her vision blurred. The words swam together. Prenuptial agreement. 0 assets. 0 compensation. Her hand moved. The signature didn't even look like hers. Victoria snatched the papers away. "Finally, Richard, call security." "Wait." Brandon reached into his jacket. He pulled out an envelope and threw it at Serena's feet. "Your $500. Consider it generous." The envelope landed in the puddle of wine on the marble floor. "Pick it up." Priscilla's voice dripped with malice. "Pick it up like the beggar you are. My followers want to see." Serena didn't move. "I said pick it up." Priscilla shoved her. Serena stumbled but didn't fall. "That's enough." Brandon sounded bored. "Get her out of here. I'm done looking at her." 2 security guards grabbed Serena's arms. "Let go of me." She struggled. "I can walk myself." "You sure about that?" One guard laughed. "You don't look too steady." They dragged her toward the door. Serena's feet slipped on the wet marble. The guests parted like she was diseased. "Merry Christmas, orphan," someone shouted. Laughter erupted. "Wait." Serena twisted in the guard's grip. "My coat. It's freezing outside. At least let me get my coat." Victoria waved dismissively. "Servants' belongings are in the servants' quarters. You're no longer welcome in any part of this house." "It's 20 degrees outside." "Then I suggest you walk fast." The front door opened. Cold air blasted in. Snow was falling heavily. The guards shoved Serena outside. She stumbled down the stone steps, barely catching herself before hitting the ground. The door slammed behind her. Serena stood in the snow wine, frozen to her face, wearing only a thin sweater. The music resumed inside. The party continued. She was already forgotten. She walked, one foot in front of the other, down the long driveway, past the expensive cars, past the valets who pretended not to see her. Her shoes soaked through in seconds. Her fingers went numb, then her toes. She made it to the bus stop at the main road before her legs gave out. The bench was covered in snow. She didn't care. She sat down and stared at nothing. 4 years. She had given Brandon everything. Every dollar. Every hour. Every piece of herself. And he had thrown her away like trash. Her phone buzzed. She ignored it. Probably Priscilla posting the humiliation video. It buzzed again, and again, and again. Serena pulled it out with frozen fingers. Unknown number. She almost didn't answer, but something made her swipe. Hello, Miss Serena Moore. A woman's voice. Professional, urgent. Who is this? My name is Margaret Chen. I'm calling about your father. Serena almost laughed. My father? I don't have a father. I grew up in state care. I'm an orphan. Is this some kind of sick joke? It's not a joke, Miss Moore. Margaret's voice softened. Your father's name is William Sterling. He's the founder of Sterling Industries. He's been searching for you for 28 years. And he's dying. He needs to see you tonight. The world tilted. William Sterling. Serena's voice came out strangled. The billionaire that William Sterling. Yes. You are his only child. His sole heir. Miss Moore. I know this is overwhelming, but there's no time to explain over the phone. I'm sending a car. It will be there in 10 minutes. Please just stay where you are. Wait, how do I know this is real? How do I know you're not? When you were born, your mother named you Magnolia. Magnolia Grace Sterling. It was her favorite flower. Serena stopped breathing. She had never told anyone that name. The one name she'd found in her file at the orphanage. The name that had been crossed out and replaced with Serena Moore, parents unknown. How do you know that? She whispered. Because your father has never stopped looking for you. 10 minutes, Miss Moore. Please. The line went dead. Serena sat frozen on the bench. The snow kept falling. Her mind kept racing. This couldn't be real. This was impossible. Things like this didn't happen to people like her. But Margaret had known the name nobody knew. 9 minutes later, headlights appeared through the snow. A black Mercedes pulled up, the back door opened. A woman in her 50s stepped out, silver hair, sharp suit, sharper eyes. Miss Moore, I'm Margaret Chen. Please get in before you freeze to death. Serena didn't move. I need proof. I need to know this is real. Margaret pulled out a tablet. She turned it toward Serena. On the screen was a photograph of a young woman. Dark hair, green eyes, high cheekbones, a smile that looked exactly like the one Serena saw in the mirror. This is Catherine Sterling, Margaret said. Your mother, she died giving birth to you. 3 days later, you were stolen from the hospital by a corrupt administrator who sold babies to black market adoption rings. Your father has spent every day since then trying to find you. Serena's legs moved on their own. She climbed into the car. Margaret handed her a blanket and hot tea. Drink. You're hypothermic. Tell me everything. Serena's teeth were chattering. I need to know everything. Your father will explain, but I can tell you this much. Margaret's expression darkened. We've been watching you for 6 months. We know about Brandon Hartford. We know what he did to you, and we know it's connected to something much bigger. Connected? What do you mean connected? Brandon's father, Richard Hartford, is business partners with your father's brother, a man named Edward Sterling. They've been engaged in fraud together for years. Edward has been embezzling millions from Sterling Industries. He thinks when your father dies, he'll inherit everything. Nah. Serena's mind was reeling. Brandon married me because you were nobody, an orphan, someone with no family to ask questions, someone easy to control, easy to use, easy to throw away. Margaret's voice hardened. They never imagined you were the one person who could destroy them all. The car turned onto a long private drive. Through the snow, Serena saw a house that made the Hartford mansion look like a guest cottage. "We're here." Margaret opened the door. "Your father is waiting. He's been waiting for 28 years. Serena walked up the stone steps. The front door opened before she could knock. A butler led her through the house. She barely noticed the art, the chandeliers, the obvious wealth. Her heart was pounding too hard. They stopped at a study door. "He's inside," the butler said. "He's very weak. Please don't tire him." Serena pushed the door open. An old man sat in a wheelchair by the fireplace. He was thin, frail oxygen tube in his nose, but his eyes, green like hers, were sharp and bright and filled with tears. "Magnolia." His voice broke on the name. "My God, you look just like her. You look just like my Catherine." Serena couldn't move, couldn't speak, couldn't breathe. This man, this stranger, was looking at her like she was something precious, something worth searching 28 years to find. Nobody had ever looked at her like that. "I don't understand," she finally whispered. "Any of this." William held out his trembling hands. "Come here. Please, let me see my daughter." Serena crossed the room. She knelt beside his wheelchair. His hands, thin, fragile, warm, cupped her face. "I'm so sorry." Tears streamed down his weathered cheeks. "I'm so sorry I couldn't find you sooner. I'm so sorry for everything you suffered." "It wasn't your fault." She was crying now, too. "You didn't know." "I should have protected you. Your mother," his voice caught. "Your mother made me promise. On her deathbed, she made me promise to take care of you. And I failed." "You didn't fail. You found me." "Almost too late." William's expression changed, hardened. "Margaret told you about the Hartfords?" Serena nodded. "She didn't tell you everything." He reached for a folder on the table beside him. 3 months ago, my investigators discovered that Brandon Hartford stole $12,000 from your personal savings. Serena's stomach dropped. "What?" "He also forged your signature on loan documents. You're legally responsible for $67,000 in debt that he created." The room spun. "That's impossible. I would have known. He hid it well. He planned to divorce you and disappear before you discovered the truth. Tonight wasn't an accident, Magnolia. It was an escape." Serena stood up. Her hands were shaking, but not from cold anymore. "He stole from me. He married me, used me, stole from me, and then threw me away." But her voice was low, dangerous. "And his father is connected to your brother." "Deeply connected. Richard Hartford has been helping Edward launder money for years. They're both criminals. They've both been waiting for me to die so they can take everything." "But you're not dead yet." William smiled. It was fierce, proud. "No, I'm not. And now I have something they never expected. I have you." "What do you want me to do?" "Take back everything they stole." William gripped her hand with surprising strength. "From me. From you. From your mother's memory. I want you to destroy them, Magnolia. Every single one of them. And I'm going to give you everything you need to do it." Serena looked at her father, at the man who had searched for her for 28 years, who had never stopped believing she was alive, who was now offering her the power to avenge everything she had suffered. 3 hours ago, Brandon Hartford had thrown $500 at her feet. He had no idea what he had just awakened. "Tell me what I need to learn," Serena said. "Tell me how to destroy them." William's smile widened. "Margaret will begin your training tomorrow. Business, finance, law. Everything you need to know to run Sterling Industries. And everything you need to know to bring the Hartfords to their knees." "How long will it take?" 2 months, maybe 3. Can you wait that long?" Serena thought about Victoria's wine dripping down her face, Brandon's cold eyes, Camille's mocking laughter, Priscilla's phone recording her humiliation. "I've waited my whole life," she said. "I can wait a little longer." "Good." William squeezed her hand. "Because when we're done, Magnolia, they won't just lose their money. They'll lose everything, their company, their reputation, their freedom." His eyes glittered with cold satisfaction. "They called you trash. They threw you out like garbage. And they have no idea, No idea at all that they just declared war on the most powerful family in Boston. Outside, snow continued to fall over the city. Inside the Hartford mansion, Brandon Hartford raised his champagne glass, celebrating his freedom from his pathetic ex-wife. He had no idea that his freedom had just become a countdown. He had no idea that the woman he'd thrown away was about to become his worst nightmare. And he had no idea that every cruel word, every humiliation, every drop of wine his mother had thrown, all of it, was about to come back to destroy him. Karma wasn't just coming for the Hartfords. It was already there. And its name was Magnolia Sterling. 2 months changed everything. Serena sat across from Margaret in the Sterling Industries boardroom, financial reports spread between them like a battlefield map. Again, Margaret said, "What's the first rule of a hostile takeover? Control the narrative before you control the stock. And the second, never let them see you coming." Margaret allowed herself a small smile. "You're ready." "I've been ready." Serena closed the folder. "I've memorized every Hartford financial record, every shell company, every hidden account. I know their weaknesses better than they know themselves." Knowing isn't enough. You need to become someone they'd never suspect. Margaret slid a new folder across the table. "It's time to meet Victoria Lane." Serena opened the folder. Inside was a complete identity, passport, driver's license, business cards, investment portfolio. All fake, all flawless. "European tech investor," Serena read, "based in Geneva. Net worth approximately $200 million. Victoria Lane has no connection to Sterling Industries. No connection to you." "She's a ghost with very deep pockets." Margaret leaned forward. "Richard Hartford has been desperate for investors since the federal investigation started circling. When Victoria Lane approaches him with a $15 million offer, he won't ask questions. He'll beg." And Brandon's company is drowning. He's $3.2 million in debt. His marriage to Camille was supposed to save him. Her father's law firm handles high-profile financial cases. But there's a problem. "What problem?" Margaret's expression darkened. "Camille is 4 months pregnant. Brandon thinks it's his." Serena felt something twist in her chest. "It's not." "The father is Derek Walsh, Camille's ex-boyfriend. They've been meeting secretly for over a year." Margaret pulled out printed text messages. "She married Brandon for his family name. She's planning to divorce him the moment she secures enough assets." Serena stared at the messages. Camille's words were cold calculated. "Brandon is pathetic, but his family has connections. Once I have the baby, I'll take him for everything." "She's using him," Serena said slowly. "The same way he used me. Poetic, isn't it? Does Brandon know? He has no idea. He thinks he's finally happy." Margaret gathered the papers. "But that's not the worst thing I found." Serena's jaw tightened. "Tell me." "Your $12,000, the savings Brandon stole, he didn't invest it. He gambled it. Lost every penny in one night at an underground poker game." "And the $67,000 in loans?" "Gambling debts. All of them. He was desperate to win back what he lost. Instead, he dug himself deeper." Margaret's voice hardened. "He forged your signature because his credit was destroyed. He used your identity to keep himself afloat. And when the debts came due, he divorced you to escape." Serena stood up. She walked to the window, but she wasn't seeing the city below. She was seeing Brandon's face when he threw those divorce papers at her. The way he smiled, the way he called her a charity case. He hadn't just betrayed her. He had systematically destroyed her while pretending to love her. "There's more." Margaret's voice was careful now. "The investigation into Richard Hartford, it's connected to your uncle." Serena turned. "Edward, they've been partners for over a decade. Edward embezzles from Sterling Industries. Richard launders the money through Hartford Corporation's real estate deals. They've stolen over $60 million combined. And they don't know my father found out. Edward thinks William is too sick to notice. He's been getting bolder. Last week, he transferred another $2 million to an offshore account." Margaret stood. "He's planning to make his move soon. The moment your father dies, Edward will claim there's no heir. He'll take everything." "Except I exist." "Exactly." Margaret handed her a new document. "Your father signed this yesterday. It's the official transfer of his shares to you. 51% of Sterling Industries. The moment you reveal yourself, you become the majority shareholder. Edward loses everything. Serena looked at the document. Her father's shaky signature at the bottom. Her name, Magnolia Grace Sterling, typed above the line for her own signature. Is he okay? She asked quietly. My father… Margaret hesitated. He's weaker than last week. The doctors say he could have months, or he could have days. There's no way to know. I need to see him. He's resting. I need to see him now. Margaret nodded. I'll take you. William Sterling's bedroom was quiet. Machines beeped softly. The oxygen tank hissed with each breath. Serena sat beside his bed and took his hand. I'm here. William's eyes fluttered open. Magnolia. A weak smile crossed his face. You look different. Margaret's been teaching me how to be someone else. No. William squeezed her fingers. You look stronger, more like your mother every day. Tell me about her. Please. Catherine was fearless. Brilliant. She could walk into any room and own it without saying a word. His voice was fading. She would be so proud of you. What you're about to do. I'm scared. The admission surprised her. What if I fail? What if they see through me? They won't, because they never really saw you in the first place. William's grip tightened. To them, you were invisible. Background noise. That's their greatest weakness, Magnolia. They underestimated you. They'll never see you coming. Father, promise me something. Anything. When this is over, when you've destroyed them all, don't become like them. Use the power for good. Help people like you. People who have no one. His eyes were wet. Your mother believed everyone deserved a chance. She would want you to build something beautiful from the ashes. I promise. Good. He closed his eyes. Now go. Become Victoria Lane. And make them pay for every tear they ever made you cry. Serena leaned down and kissed his forehead. I love you. I know. A faint smile. I've loved you since before you were born. And I'll love you long after I'm gone. She walked out of the room before he could see her crying. 3 days later, Victoria Lane made her first appearance. The transformation was complete. New hair, shorter styled, highlighted with subtle auburn streaks. Designer clothes that cost more than Serena used to make in a year. Glasses that changed the shape of her face. A slight European accent she'd practiced for hours. She didn't look like Serena Moore. She didn't even feel like Serena Moore. She felt like someone new. Someone dangerous. Mr. Hartford will see you now, the receptionist said. Victoria Lane walked into Richard Hartford's office with perfect posture and a confident smile. Richard stood to greet her, all charm and expensive cologne. Miss Lane. What a pleasure to finally meet you. I've heard so much about your investment portfolio. All good things, I hope. Only the best. He gestured to a chair. Please sit. Can I get you anything? Coffee, water, something stronger. Just information. She crossed her legs, watching his eyes follow the movement. I understand Hartford Corporation is looking for investors. Richard's smile flickered. We're always open to strategic partnerships. I'm not interested in partnerships, Mr. Hartford. I'm interested in ownership. She opened her leather folder. Your company is underperforming. Your stocks have dropped 18% in 2 years. You have 3 pending lawsuits and a federal investigation breathing down your neck. Richard's face reddened. I don't know where you got that information, but I got it from people who know how to look. Victoria leaned forward. Here's what I'm offering. $15 million. Full investment. In exchange, I want a seat on your board and full access to your financial records. Full access? That's highly irregular. So is being investigated for fraud. Oh, Anucci smiled. Do we have a deal, Mr. Hartford? Or should I take my $15 million to your competitors? Richard's jaw worked. She could see him calculating, weighing the risk against the reward. I'll need to discuss this with my wife and son, he finally said. Of course. I look forward to meeting them. Victoria stood. I believe you have a family dinner on Friday. Perhaps I could join you. Get to know the people behind the business. How did you know about our family dinner? I make it my business to know things, Mr. Hartford. She extended her hand. I'll see you Friday. She walked out of his office, heart pounding beneath her calm exterior. The door closed behind her. Phase 1 complete. Friday arrived faster than Serena expected. She stood outside the Hartford mansion, the same mansion she'd been thrown out of 2 months ago, and felt nothing but cold determination. You're sure about this? Margaret's voice crackled through the tiny earpiece hidden beneath her hair. Once you walk through that door, there's no going back. I'm sure. Remember, Brandon might recognize something. A gesture, a phrase, be careful. Brandon looked at me for 4 years and never really saw me. Serena Victoria straightened her designer coat. He won't see me now. She rang the doorbell. Victoria Hartford opened the door herself. The woman who had thrown wine in Serena's face. The woman who had called her trash garbage worthless. Now she was smiling, welcoming, obsequious. Miss Lane, we're so honored you could join us. Please come in. Victoria Lane walked through the door. What a lovely home. Thank you. It's been in my husband's family for generations. Victoria Hartford gestured toward the living room. Everyone's so excited to meet you. Richard has told us all about your generous investment offer. I believe in supporting promising businesses, and we believe in rewarding loyal partners. Victoria Hartford's smile was all teeth. Let me introduce you to my son. Brandon stood by the fireplace, Camille on his arm. He was wearing the same charcoal suit he'd worn when he demanded Serena sign those divorce papers. Camille's hand rested on her visible baby bump. Miss Lane. Brandon extended his hand. A pleasure. Victoria Lane shook it. His palm was smooth, soft, the hands of a man who had never worked a day in his life. The pleasure is mine, Mr. Hartford. Please call me Brandon. His eyes lingered on her face. Have we met before? Something about you seems familiar. Her heart stopped for a fraction of a second. I doubt it. Her voice stayed perfectly even. I've spent most of my life in Europe. This is my first extended stay in Boston. Must be one of those faces. Camille's voice dripped with false sweetness. Everyone looks like someone. Indeed. And Victoria Lane smiled. You must be Camille. Richard told me about your wedding. Congratulations. Thank you. Camille touched her stomach. We're expecting our first, a boy. How wonderful. Brandon must be thrilled. I am. Brandon puffed up with pride, carrying on the Hartford name. It's what my family has always wanted. Victoria Lane held her expression perfectly neutral. If only you knew. Dinner was a performance. Every bite, every word, every gesture was calculated. Richard Hartford dominated the conversation, boasting about Hartford Corporation's temporary setbacks and unlimited potential. Victoria Hartford dropped hints about their social connections, their charitable donations, their important friends. Priscilla showed up late, phone in hand, as always. She barely glanced at the guest before sliding into her seat. Sorry, Mother. Busy day. Priscilla, this is Victoria Lane, our new investor. Cool. Priscilla didn't look up from her screen. Victoria Lane filed away every detail. The way Richard's eye twitched when Priscilla's phone buzzed. The way Victoria Hartford's smile tightened when Camille mentioned the nursery budget. The way Brandon watched Victoria Lane, just a second too long, still trying to place her face. So, Miss Lane, Richard said, what exactly attracts you to Hartford Corporation? I like family businesses. Victoria Lane sipped her wine. There's something admirable about generations working together, building something lasting. We've been building for 60 years, Richard said proudly, and we plan to build for 60 more. I'm sure you do. She set down her glass, though I am curious about something. What's that? Your son's previous marriage. The table went silent. Brandon's face flushed. That's not really relevant. On the contrary. Victoria Lane's voice stayed pleasant. I research every investment thoroughly. I found records of a marriage that ended rather abruptly. I'd like to understand why. Victoria Hartford's laugh was too sharp. Oh, that. A minor embarrassment. My son made a youthful mistake. Married some orphan girl who had no business in our world. An orphan? Pathetic creature. Victoria Hartford waved dismissively. Worked as a waitress, tried to pretend she was one of us. We corrected the mistake. How exactly did you correct it? Brandon shifted uncomfortably. Does this really matter? I'm investing $15 million, Mr. Hartford. Everything matters. Fine. Brandon's jaw tightened. Her name was Serena. We were married for 4 years. It didn't work out. We divorced on Christmas Eve. End of story. And where is Serena now? I don't know. Brandon shrugged. Don't care. She's probably back where she belongs, serving coffee, scrubbing floors. People like her don't belong in our world. Victoria Lane nodded slowly. How very decisive of you. Brandon knows his worth, Victoria Hartford said. And he knows he deserves better. Camille is proof of that. Camille smiled and reached for Brandon's hand. Victoria Lane smiled too, but her smile had edges they couldn't see. After dinner, Richard invited her to his study for brandy. The real business, he said, happened away from the women. I like you, Miss Lane. Richard poured 2 glasses. You're direct, ambitious. You remind me of myself. I'll take that as a compliment. You should. He handed her a glass. 15 million is generous, but I have to ask, what do you really want? Profit, influence, power. Victoria Lane swirled the brandy. The same things everyone wants. Most people want those things, but are afraid to admit it. Richard sat in his leather chair. That's their weakness. They pretend to be good, moral, ethical. Meanwhile, people like us do what's necessary. And what's necessary for Hartford Corporation? Expansion. Aggressive growth. A few obstacles need to be removed. He studied her face, Imo. Do you have a problem with that? That depends on the obstacles. My current partners are becoming liabilities. They're getting nervous, asking questions. Richard's voice dropped. When partners become problems, they need to be handled. Are you talking about Edward Sterling? Richard's glass stopped halfway to his mouth. How do you know about Edward? I told you, Mr. Hartford. I research everything. Victoria Lane set down her brandy. I know about your arrangement, the embezzlement, the money laundering, the real estate fraud. Richard's face went white. Who the hell are you? Right now, I'm someone who could destroy you with a single phone call. She stood. Or I could be the best friend you've ever had. The choice is yours. Is this blackmail? It's an opportunity. She walked to the door. Think about it, Richard. I'll be in touch. She left him standing in his study brandy, forgotten fear spreading across his face. In the car, Margaret's voice came through the earpiece. That was risky. It was necessary. Serena pulled out the tiny recording device hidden in her bracelet. I needed him scared. Scared people make mistakes. You got everything. Everything. His admission about Edward, his willingness to remove obstacles, his knowledge of the fraud. Then we're ahead of schedule. Not fast enough. Serena looked out the window at the Hartford mansion shrinking behind her. I want to move on Edward next week. That's too soon. We need more evidence. My father doesn't have time for more evidence. Every day I wait is a day he might not see justice. Her voice hardened. Set up a meeting with Edward. Tell him Victoria Lane wants to discuss a merger. Serena, tell him she has information about his brother's heir. Information that could make him very, very rich. Silence on the line. Then, that's dangerous. If Edward suspects... Edward is greedy. Greedy people don't suspect. They salivate. And if he runs your background... Victoria Lane's background is flawless. You made sure of that. Serena removed the earpiece. Set the meeting, Margaret. I'm done waiting. The next morning, Serena sat beside her father's bed. William was weaker than before. His breathing was labored, but his eyes still sparkled when she told him about the dinner. You walked into their house, he whispered, sat at their table, and they had no idea. None. Did Brandon recognize you? He said I seemed familiar, but he couldn't place it. Serena took his hand. He looked right at me and saw nothing but another rich woman to impress. That's his blindness. Always has been. William coughed and Margaret appeared with water. He waved her away. What about Edward? Margaret's setting up a meeting. I'm going to offer him a deal he can't refuse. Be careful with my brother. He's more dangerous than Richard. Smarter, crueler. William's grip tightened. He's suspected for years that I might have an heir somewhere. If he realizes who you are before you're ready, he won't. Promise me. I promise. Serena kissed his hand. Rest now. I'll handle Edward. William's eyes closed. Your mother is watching over you. I know she is. I know too. She stayed until he fell asleep, then found Margaret in the hallway. The meeting is set, Margaret said. Edward Sterling, tomorrow at noon, his office at Sterling Industries. Good. There's something else. Margaret handed her a phone. This was delivered to your apartment this morning. Serena looked at the screen. It was a text message from an unknown number. I know who you are. Meet me at the Fairmont lobby. 8 p.m. tonight. Come alone. Her blood went cold. Do we know who sent this? We're tracing it now. But whoever it is, they know something. Or they're bluffing. Either way, you can't go. It's too dangerous. Serena stared at the message. Every instinct screamed trap. But if someone really knew her identity, if they could expose her before she was ready, I'm going. Serena. Alone. She handed back the phone. If this person wanted to expose me, they would have done it already. They want something. I need to know what. And if it's Edward, then I'll find out what he knows. And if it's worse than Edward? Serena didn't answer. She walked toward the elevator, mind racing, heart pounding, the weight of everything pressing down on her shoulders. Someone knew her secret. In less than 24 hours, she would face Edward Sterling. And tonight she would meet whoever was threatening to destroy everything before she even got started. The game had just gotten much more dangerous. But Serena Moore, Magnolia Sterling, Victoria Lane, whoever she needed to be, wasn't backing down. Not now. Not ever. The Hartfords had thrown her into the snow and called her worthless. Edward Sterling had stolen from her father and plotted to take everything. Someone out there thought they could threaten her. They were all about to learn the same lesson. The woman they had underestimated was about to become the last thing they ever saw coming. The Fairmont lobby was quiet at 8 o'clock. Serena walked through the entrance, every nerve on high alert. Her eyes scanned the room, businessmen with laptops, couples having drinks, a pianist playing softly in the corner. No one looked suspicious. No one looked like they were waiting for her. Miss Lane. She turned. A young woman stood behind her, maybe mid-20s, blonde hair, pulled back, professional suit. Her face was familiar, but Serena couldn't place it. Who are you? Someone who wants to help. The woman gestured toward a private alcove. Please, we need to talk where we won't be overheard. I don't know you. Give me one reason I should trust you. Yes, because I'm the reason Brandon Hartford's first investor pulled out 3 years ago. Because I know about the gambling debts. Because I know what he did to you. The woman's eyes hardened. And because I was you. Before you. Serena's blood ran cold. They sat in the alcove out of sight from the main lobby. The woman ordered tea and waited for the server to leave before speaking again. My name is Rachel. Rachel Porter. 4 years before you, I was Brandon Hartford's girlfriend. He told me he loved me. Told me I was different. Told me his family didn't matter. What happened? I got pregnant. Rachel's voice was flat. Brandon promised to marry me. His mother found out. 2 weeks later, I miscarried. The doctor said it was stress-induced. She looked directly at Serena. Victoria Hartford visited me in the hospital. She told me if I ever contacted Brandon again, she would destroy my life, my career, my family, everything. And you believed her. I didn't have to believe her. She did it anyway. Rachel pulled out her phone. After I lost the baby, I was fired from my job. Blacklisted from every firm in Boston. My apartment lease was mysteriously terminated. My credit score dropped 200 points overnight. The Hartfords did all that. The Hartfords can do anything. They have connections everywhere. Police, banks, media. Anyone who crosses them gets crushed. Rachel's hands were shaking. I've spent 4 years rebuilding my life, working under a different name, hiding. But when I saw Priscilla's live stream, when I saw them do to you what they did to me, I couldn't stay silent anymore. Serena leaned forward. How did you find out who I really am? I didn't. Not at first. Rachel pulled out a folder. I've been tracking the Hartfords for years, collecting evidence, waiting for someone with the resources to actually use it. When Victoria Lane appeared out of nowhere with $15 million, I got curious. I dug. And I found the connection to Sterling Industries. You could have exposed me. I could have. But that's not what I want. What do you want? The same thing you want. Rachel's eyes burned. I want to watch Victoria Hartford lose everything. I want to see Richard in handcuffs. I want Brandon to feel exactly what it's like to have his entire life ripped away from him. She pushed the folder across the table. And I have evidence that can make that happen. Serena opened the folder. Inside were bank statements, emails, photographs, transactions between Hartford Corporation and offshore accounts, meetings between Richard and men she didn't recognize, dates, times, amounts. Where did you get this? I told you 4 years. I've been watching them for 4 years. Rachel's voice dropped. But there's something else. Something you need to know before you meet with Edward Sterling. What? Edward isn't just Richard's partner. He's the one who's been feeding information to the federal investigators. He's trying to take Richard down before Richard can take him down. Serena's mind raced. Edward is betraying Richard. They're both betraying each other. It's a race to see who can destroy the other first. Rachel closed the folder. Right now you're walking into the middle of a war, and neither side knows you're the one who's going to win. Why are you telling me this? Because I want in. Rachel's jaw set. Whatever you're planning, I want to be part of it. I want to see their faces when it all falls apart. And I want to be the one who hands Victoria Hartford the evidence that sends her son to prison. Serena studied the woman across from her. The pain in her eyes was real. The hatred was real. The desperation was real. If you're lying to me, I'm not. If you're working for Edward or Richard or anyone else, I'm not. Rachel reached across the table and gripped Serena's hand. I lost my baby because of these people. I lost 4 years of my life. I have nothing left to lose and everything to gain by helping you destroy them. Serena made her decision. Tomorrow, noon, Edward Sterling's office. Be in the lobby. If things go wrong, I need someone on the outside who knows the truth. I'll be there. And Rachel? Serena stood. If I find out you've betrayed me, I won't just destroy the Hartfords. I'll destroy you too. Fair enough. Rachel almost smiled. I'd expect nothing less. Serena walked out of the Fairmont with Rachel's folder under her arm and a new ally at her back. The game had just gotten more complicated. But for the first time since Christmas Eve, she didn't feel completely alone. The next morning, Margaret was waiting in the car. You met with her? You had me followed. I had you protected. Margaret's voice was tight. Rachel Porter. I ran her background the moment you sat down. Her story checks out. But that doesn't mean we can trust her. We don't have to trust her. We just have to use her. Serena handed over the folder. Look at this. 4 years of evidence, bank records, photographs, transaction histories. This is more than we had before. Margaret flipped through the pages. Her expression shifted from skepticism to surprise to something that looked almost like hope. This is significant. It's ammunition. Serena checked her reflection in the window. Victoria Lane stared back at her. Now let's go meet my uncle. Edward Sterling's office occupied the entire top floor of Sterling Tower. Serena had never been there before her father had kept her away from company headquarters to protect her identity. But she had studied the blueprints, memorized the layout, prepared for every possible scenario. What she hadn't prepared for was how much Edward looked like her father. The same green eyes, the same sharp cheekbones, the same confident posture. But where William's face was softened by kindness, Edward's was hardened by greed. Where William's eyes held warmth, Edward's held calculation. Miss Lane. Edward rose from his desk with a practiced smile. What a pleasure to finally meet you. Richard Hartford has told me wonderful things. Mr. Sterling. Victoria Lane shook his hand. I appreciate you making time for me. For someone interested in discussing my brother's heir, I always have time. He gestured to a chair. Please sit. Let's talk. She sat crossing her legs, maintaining perfect composure. I understand you've been running Sterling Industries during your brother's illness. Someone had to. Edward's smile didn't reach his eyes. William has been unwell. The company needs steady leadership. And you've provided that. I like to think so. Even while transferring $2 million to offshore accounts last week. Edward's smile froze. I beg your pardon, Cayman Islands. Account number ending in 7749. $2 million transferred from Sterling Industries pension fund. Victoria Lane tilted her head. Shall I continue? I don't know what you think you know. I know everything, Mr. Sterling. She pulled Rachel's folder from her bag and dropped it on his desk. 4 years of transactions, shell companies in Panama, Switzerland, Singapore. $62 million embezzled from your brother's company. Edward's face went white, then red. His hands gripped the edge of his desk. Who are you? Right now, I'm the only person standing between you and a federal prison cell. Victoria Lane leaned forward. But I could be your greatest ally. It depends on what you're willing to offer. You're blackmailing me. I'm negotiating. Edward stared at her for a long moment. Then slowly he laughed. It was an ugly sound. You've got nerve, I'll give you that. He sat back. What do you want in information? About your brother? About his estate? About any heirs he might have? William doesn't have heirs. His wife died 30 years ago. He never remarried. Are you certain about that? Something flickered in Edward's eyes. What do you know? I know your brother has been searching for someone for a very long time. I know he's hired private investigators across 3 continents. I know he's spent millions on a search that he's kept secret from everyone, including you. Edward's jaw tightened. If William had an heir, I would know. Would you? He doesn't seem to trust you very much. Victoria Lane smiled. $62 million worth of distrust, I'd say. Get to the point. I want access to your brother's private files, his personal records, everything related to his estate planning. Why? Because I believe your brother has been hiding something, and I believe that something could be worth far more than any investment in Hartford Corporation. Edward studied her face. She could see him calculating, weighing risk against reward, suspicion against greed. And if I give you this access, what do I get? The folder stays with me. The federal investigators continue to focus on Richard Hartford. And when your brother dies, I help you secure the company. Permanently. How? By making sure no other claimants emerge. Edward's eyes widened, then narrowed. You know something. I know many things. Tell me. Not yet. Victoria Lane stood. Give me access to the files, then we'll talk. Edward rose slowly. He walked around his desk until he was standing inches from her. His cologne was expensive. His threat was obvious. If you're playing games with me, Miss Lane, you should know I don't lose games. Neither do I, Mr. Sterling. My brother may be dying, but he's not dead yet. If you're working for him, I'm working for myself. Always have, always will. She didn't flinch. The files. Do we have a deal? Edward reached into his pocket. He pulled out a keycard and handed it to her. Archives room. Basement level. Everything related to William's estate is in Section 7. His grip tightened around the card before releasing it. But Miss Lane, if I find out you've lied to me about anything at all, this folder won't matter. I'll bury you somewhere no one will ever find. Noted. She walked out of his office, keycard in hand, heart pounding beneath her calm exterior. She had just made a deal with the devil, and the devil had no idea he'd just handed her the keys to his own destruction. Rachel was waiting in the lobby, pretending to read a magazine. Well, I'm in. Serena kept walking. Rachel fell into step beside her. He gave me access to the archives. Everything about my father's estate. He just gave it to you. He thinks I'm going to help him steal the company. He thinks I know about an heir and I'm going to help him eliminate them. Rachel stopped walking. Serena, he's going to figure it out. Not before I get what I need. Serena pushed through the exit doors. I need you to do something for me. Name it. Brandon and Camille. I need more evidence about the baby. Derek Walsh, the real father, where is he? Last I heard he was in Miami, running from debt collectors. Find him. Get him to Boston. I need him here when everything falls apart. And if he won't come, offer him money. Offer him a chance to get back at Camille. Whatever it takes, Serena hailed a cab. I need him here within the week. That's a tight timeline. My father doesn't have much time, neither do I. Rachel nodded. I'll make it happen. The cab pulled up. Serena climbed in, then leaned out the window. Rachel, thank you for finding me, for risking everything. Don't thank me yet. Rachel's smile was grim. Thank me when they're all in handcuffs. That night, Serena descended into the Sterling Industries archives. The basement was vast. Rows of filing cabinets stretched into darkness. Section 7 was in the far corner estate documents, wills, trust records, everything related to William Sterling's personal affairs. She worked quickly, photographing documents, copying files, building a paper trail that would prove beyond doubt that she was William Sterling's legitimate heir. And then she found something she wasn't expecting. A folder. Thin. Unmarked. Hidden behind the others. Inside was a single photograph. A woman holding a baby. Dark hair. Green eyes. A smile that looked exactly like Serena's. On the back, handwritten Catherine and Magnolia. 3 days old. My everything. Serena's hand shook. This was her mother, her real mother. Holding her, loving her. 3 days before she died. Tears blurred her vision. She pressed the photograph to her chest and let herself cry for the first time since this nightmare began. I found you, Mom, she whispered. I finally found you. She took the photograph. She would never let it go. But as she turned to leave, footsteps echoed in the corridor. Serena froze. The footsteps were getting closer. She slipped behind a filing cabinet, barely breathing. The overhead lights flickered on. I know someone's down here. Edward Sterling's voice echoed through the basement. Security saw you on the cameras. You have 5 seconds to show yourself. Serena's mind raced. The exit was 20 feet away. Edward was between her and the door. If he caught her with these documents 4 seconds, she had one chance. Serena stepped out from behind the cabinet, hands raised. Mr. Sterling. Edward's face registered shock, then fury. Miss Lane, what a surprise. I was just reviewing the files you gave me access to. At 11 o'clock at night, in a section I explicitly told you was about estate documents. He moved closer. What are you really looking for? The truth. About what? About your brother's heir. Serena held up the photograph. About this woman. About the baby she's holding. Edward's face went pale. Where did you get that? It was hidden in your files. Interesting that you didn't mention it. That photograph proves nothing. It proves William had a daughter who would be the legal heir to everything, a daughter who would destroy your claim to the company. Edward's hand shot out and grabbed her wrist. Who are you working for? Let go of me. Tell me. His grip tightened. Who sent you? Who knows about this? Everyone will know soon enough. Serena wrenched her arm free. The question is, what are you going to do about it? Edward's face contorted. For a moment, she thought he might hit her. Then something worse flickered in his eyes. Calculation. Planning. You think you're clever, he said softly. But you don't know who you're dealing with. I've eliminated threats before. I can eliminate you. Try it. Serena backed toward the door. But know this, everything in this folder has already been copied. If anything happens to me, those copies go to the FBI, the SEC, and every news outlet in the country. You'll be destroyed. You're bluffing. Test me. They stared at each other across the dim basement. Predator and prey. Except Serena wasn't sure anymore who was which. Finally, Edward stepped aside. Get out. Serena walked past him, heart hammering. This isn't over, Miss Lane. His voice followed her to the door. I will find out who you really are. And when I do, that photograph won't be able to save you. She didn't answer. She kept walking, up the stairs, through the lobby, out into the cold night air. Margaret was waiting in the car. What happened? Your tracker showed you were in there for 3 hours. Edward caught me. Serena climbed into the back seat. He knows I'm looking for the heir. He knows I found evidence. Does he know it's you? Not yet, but he's suspicious. She handed Margaret the folder of documents. We need to accelerate the timeline. How soon can we call the shareholders' meeting? Serena, you're not ready. How soon? Margaret hesitated. 3 days, if we push hard. Then push hard. Serena looked out the window at Sterling Tower disappearing behind them. I don't have 3 days to spare. Edward is going to dig. He's going to find out who Victoria Lane really is. When he does, he'll try to kill me before I can reveal myself. We can protect you. The only protection is speed. Serena pulled out her phone. Call Rachel. Tell her Derek needs to be here in 48 hours, not a week. Call our contact at the FBI. Tell them to prepare the arrest warrants. And call the media outlets on our list. Tell them something big is happening at Sterling Industries, something they won't want to miss. You're declaring war. Edward declared war the moment he stole from my father. Serena's voice was steel. I'm just finishing it. The next morning, William Sterling opened his eyes to find his daughter sitting beside his bed. Magnolia. His voice was weaker than before. You look tired. I found Mom. She showed him the photograph. I found the picture you hid. William's eyes filled with tears. Catherine. My beautiful Catherine. Why did you hide it? To protect you. If Edward knew that photograph existed. He broke off coughing. Serena held his hand through the fit. When it passed, she spoke. Edward knows someone is coming for him. He caught me in the archives. He suspects there's an heir. Does he know it's you? Not yet. Then we still have time. No. Serena gripped his hand tighter. We don't. The shareholders' meeting is in 3 days. I'm revealing myself, destroying Edward, taking back everything he stole. 3 days. William struggled to sit up. Magnolia, that's too fast. If something goes wrong, nothing will go wrong. You don't know that. I know that you won't survive another month. Her voice cracked. I know that every day I wait is a day you might not see justice. I know that I've spent my entire life waiting for things that never came. I'm done waiting. William was silent for a long moment. Then he reached up and touched her face. You really are your mother's daughter. Is that a yes? It's a prayer. He closed his eyes. 3 days. Take back everything. When you stand in that boardroom as Magnolia Sterling, remember who you are. Remember who loved you. Remember that power means nothing if you don't use it for good. I will. Promise me. I promise. She kissed his forehead. I promise. She walked out of his room knowing it might be the last real conversation they ever had. 3 days, 72 hours to prepare the biggest revelation of her life. Edward Sterling was already hunting for answers. Richard Hartford was already nervous. Brandon Hartford was already suspicious. And somewhere in Miami, Derek Walsh was getting on a plane that would deliver the final nail in the Hartford family's coffin. The countdown had begun. And when it reached 0, nothing would ever be the same. The morning of the shareholders' meeting, Serena's phone rang at 6 a.m. He's gone. Margaret's voice was barely a whisper. Serena sat up in bed. What? Edward. He cleared out his office at 3 a.m. Took his passport, his laptop, everything. Security footage shows him getting into a car with Richard Hartford. They're running. Looks like it. Serena threw off the covers. Where are they going? Private airfield. Our contact says there's a jet fueled and ready. Flight plan filed for the Cayman Islands. Stop them. How? Call our FBI contact. Tell them Edward Sterling and Richard Hartford are attempting to flee the country. Tell them to ground that plane. Serena, if they get on that jet before the FBI arrives, then I'm going to the airfield myself. That's insane. They don't get to run, not after everything they've done. Serena was already pulling on clothes. Send me the address and call Rachel. Tell her it's happening now. Today, not 3 days from now. The shareholders meeting? Move it to this afternoon. Emergency session. Everyone who matters needs to be in that boardroom by 2 o'clock. I can't guarantee. Make it happen, Margaret. Whatever it takes. She hung up and grabbed her keys. 45 minutes later, Serena pulled into the private airfield. The jet was still on the runway. 2 cars were parked beside it, a black Mercedes and a silver Porsche she recognized from the Hartford mansion. Figures were loading luggage into the cargo hold. Serena parked at the edge of the lot and watched. Richard Hartford emerged from the Mercedes, barking orders at someone on his phone. Victoria Hartford followed wrapped in a fur coat despite the morning warmth. Then Brandon and Camille arguing about something. And finally, Edward Sterling carrying a briefcase and scanning the perimeter like he expected an ambush. They were all here. The entire network of people who had destroyed her life. And they were trying to escape. Serena's phone buzzed. Margaret. FBI is 15 minutes out. Can you stall them? I'll do better than stall. Serena stepped out of the car. I'm going to give them a reason to stay. Serena, don't. She hung up and started walking toward the jet. Edward saw her first. His face went from confusion to recognition to fury in the span of 2 seconds. Miss Lane. He stopped loading his briefcase. What an unexpected pleasure. Leaving so soon, Mr. E. Sterling, I thought we had a deal. Richard Hartford pushed forward. Who is this Edward? Who is this woman? She's the investor I told you about, the one asking questions about William's estate. Edward's eyes never left Serena's face. The one who knows too much. Victoria Hartford stiffened. What does she know? Everything. Serena stopped 10 feet from the group. The embezzlement, the fraud, the shell companies, the $62 million you stole from Sterling Industries. She's bluffing, Richard said. She can't prove any of that. Can't I? Serena pulled out her phone. I have bank records, transaction histories, emails between the two of you discussing how to cook the books. Shall I read some of my favorites? Brandon stepped forward. I know you. I know you from somewhere. Do you? Serena tilted her head. Look closer, Brandon. Take a really good look. He stared at her. Something flickered behind his eyes. Recognition trying to break through. Wait. Camille's voice was sharp. Brandon, look at her eyes. Look at her face. What about them? She looks like... Camille stopped. Her hand flew to her mouth. Oh my God. What? Victoria Hartford pushed past her son. What are you talking about in the orphan? Camille was backing away. She looks like the orphan, the one you divorced. Brandon's face went white. That's impossible. He stopped, stared, and finally, after 4 years of looking without seeing, he saw. Serena. Hello, Brandon. She smiled. Miss me? This is impossible. Victoria Hartford's voice rose to a shriek. You're nobody. You're trash. How are you? How am I, what alive, successful, standing here while you try to run away like the criminals you are? Serena took a step closer. Here's what none of you ever understood. I was never nobody. I was never trash. I was Magnolia Grace Sterling, daughter of William Sterling, heir to a $47 billion empire, and you threw wine in my face and called me worthless. The silence was absolute. Edward recovered first. You're lying. Am I? Serena pulled out a document. DNA test. Certified by 3 independent laboratories. I am William Sterling's biological daughter, which means everything you stole. It was mine. Every penny you embezzled, you stole from me. This is a trick. Edward snatched the document. His eyes scanned it frantically. This has to be forged. William told me his daughter died. William lied. To protect me from you. Serena stepped closer. He knew what you were. He knew what you'd do if you found out I existed. So he searched in secret. For 28 years. And when he finally found me, do you know what he said? Edward didn't answer. He said to destroy you. Every single one of you. Guards, Richard Hartford shouted. Get her away from us. Get her. Your guards won't help you. Serena gestured toward the parking lot. 3 black SUVs were pulling in, lights flashing. That's the FBI. They have warrants for both of you. Fraud, embezzlement, money laundering, tax evasion. You're not going to the Cayman Islands, Richard. You're going to federal prison. Victoria Hartford started screaming. Brandon grabbed Camille's arm, looking for somewhere to run. Priscilla, who had been hiding behind the car, dropped her phone and burst into tears. Edward Sterling stood frozen, staring at Serena like he was seeing a ghost. You can't do this, he whispered. You can't just appear out of nowhere and take everything. I didn't appear out of nowhere. I've been here the whole time. Invisible. Overlooked. Underestimated. Serena watched the FBI agents approach, just the way you liked it. The agents moved fast. Edward was handcuffed first, still clutching the DNA document. Then Richard fighting and cursing as they dragged him away from the jet. Victoria tried to run. 2 agents caught her before she made it 10 feet. You did this. Victoria screamed at Serena. You ruined us. You ruined everything. No. Serena walked toward her former mother-in-law. You ruined yourselves. The moment you threw that wine in my face, you sealed your own fate. I just made sure justice caught up with you. You're nothing. You'll always be nothing. I'm $47 billion, Victoria. Serena smiled. I'm everything you ever wanted and couldn't have. And I'm the last face you'll see before they lock you in a cell. The agents pulled Victoria away. Her screams echoed across the airfield until they shoved her into a waiting vehicle. Brandon and Camille were still standing by the jet, paralyzed. Brandon. Serena turned to face her ex-husband. We need to talk. Serena, His voice cracked. I didn't know. I swear I didn't know who you were. Would it have mattered? Of course it would have mattered. Really? She stepped closer. Because from where I stood, it seemed like you knew exactly who I was. You knew I was an orphan. You knew I was alone. You knew I had no one to protect me, no one to ask questions, no one to care when you threw me away. Her voice hardened. You chose me because I was vulnerable. Don't pretend you would have treated me differently if you'd known I had money. That's not fair. You stole $12,000 from me. You forged my signature on $67,000 in loans. You left me with debt I didn't even know about. Serena's hands were shaking. You married me, used me, destroyed my credit, and then divorced me on Christmas Eve in front of 200 people. Fair has nothing to do with this. Brandon's face crumpled. I was desperate. My business was failing. My parents were pressuring me. I made mistakes. Mistakes. Serena laughed. It was not a kind sound. Is that what you call them? Please. Brandon grabbed her hands. Please, Serena. I'm so sorry for everything. I was wrong. I was weak. But I can change. We can start over. Start over. She pulled her hands away. Brandon, look behind you. He turned. Camille was staring at them, one hand pressed protectively over her pregnant belly. That woman is carrying a child you think is yours. It is mine. We're having a son. The baby's father is Derek Walsh. The words hit Brandon like a physical blow. He stumbled backward. What? Your wife has been sleeping with her ex-boyfriend for over a year. She was already pregnant when she married you. The whole thing was a trap. Serena pulled out her phone. I have text messages, photos, everything. Derek is in Boston right now, ready to testify. That's a lie. Camille's voice was shrill. She's lying, Brandon. She's trying to destroy us because she's jealous. Am I? Serena held up the phone. A text message filled the screen. Camille's words clear as day. Brandon is so stupid. He actually thinks it's his baby. Once I secure the divorce settlement, Derek and I are taking everything. Brandon read the message, then read it again. His face went from white to gray. Camille, baby, listen to me. Is it true? His voice was barely audible. Is the baby mine or not? Camille's mouth opened, closed, opened again. She couldn't say the words. Brandon made a sound like a wounded animal. He sank to his knees on the tarmac, all his arrogance, all his cruelty, all his confidence stripped away in a single moment. You used me. His voice was hollow, just like I used Serena. Brandon, please, get away from me. He wouldn't look at her. Just get away. Camille's face twisted with fury. She spun toward Serena. You bitch, you vindictive, jealous bitch. You think you've won? You think this is over. It's over, Camille, for all of you. Derek will never testify against me. He loves me. Derek is currently meeting with my lawyers. He's being offered full immunity in exchange for his testimony about your fraud scheme. Serena pocketed her phone. He didn't even hesitate. Camille's face crumbled. For the first time since Serena had known her, she looked exactly like what she was, a con artist whose con had finally collapsed. What am I supposed to do? Camille whispered. I'm pregnant. I have nothing. That's not my problem. Serena turned away. You made your choices. Now you live with them. She walked back toward her car, leaving Brandon on his knees and Camille sobbing on the airfield. It didn't feel like victory. Not yet. There was one more thing she had to do. The shareholders' meeting convened at 2 o'clock. Sterling Tower's main boardroom was packed. Board members, investors, lawyers, journalists, everyone who mattered in Boston's business world had received an emergency invitation. Margaret met Serena outside the doors. They're all here. Edward's arrest is already on the news. Everyone's confused and scared. Good. Serena straightened her burgundy dress. Fear makes people cooperative. Your father called. He's watching from his hospital bed. He wanted you to know he's proud. Serena's throat tightened. Tell him I'll visit tonight. After it's done. Tell him yourself. He'll want to hear your voice. I will. Serena took a deep breath. Let's finish this. The doors opened. Every head in the room turned. Serena walked to the podium like she'd been doing it her whole life. The whispers started immediately. Some people recognized Victoria Lane. Others didn't recognize her at all. Everyone was confused. Good afternoon. Her voice carried across the room. Thank you for coming on such short notice. Who are you? A board member stood up. Where is Edward Sterling? What is the meaning of this emergency meeting? Edward Sterling was arrested this morning for embezzlement and fraud. He is currently in federal custody and will not be returning to this company. Gasps, shouts, chaos. As for who I am, Serena removed her glasses, stood taller. Let them see her real face for the first time. My name is not Victoria Lane. My name is Magnolia Grace Sterling. I am the daughter of William Sterling and the sole heir to Sterling Industries. The room exploded. Journalists were shouting questions. Board members were demanding proof. Investors were already reaching for their phones. Serena waited. Let them panic. Let them process. Then she raised her hand and the room slowly fell silent. I have DNA documentation proving my identity. I have legal documents transferring 51% of this company's shares to my name. I have bank records showing that Edward Sterling embezzled $62 million over the past decade. She paused. And I have evidence that Richard Hartford, in partnership with Edward, engaged in money laundering and real estate fraud that cost this company millions more. Richard Hartford was arrested this morning as well, Margaret added from the side of the room. Along with his wife, Victoria. Their company is finished. This is impossible. An older board member rose shakily. I've known the Sterling family for 30 years. William never mentioned a daughter. William protected me. Serena's voice softened. He knew Edward was dangerous. He knew what would happen if my existence was discovered before I was ready. So he searched in secret. And he prepared me in secret. And now... She looked around the room. Now I'm ready. Proof, another board member demanded. We need proof. Anyone could claim to be William's heir. Margaret stepped forward with a folder. DNA tests from 3 independent laboratories. Birth certificate filed with the state of Massachusetts. Legal declaration from William Sterling himself signed and notarized 2 weeks ago. medical records confirming Magnolia was stolen from the hospital 3 days after her birth. The folder was passed around. People read, examined, verified. One by one, the skeptical faces changed. My God. The older board member sank back into his chair. It's real. She's really his daughter. I am. Serena gripped the edges of the podium. And I know this is sudden. I know this is overwhelming. But Sterling Industries needs leadership. It needs someone who will clean up the corruption Edward allowed to fester. It needs someone who will make this company what my father always wanted it to be. And you think that's you? A woman in the back stood. You have no experience, no education, no track record. I have Margaret Chen, who has been my father's right hand for 20 years. I have a team of advisors he personally selected, and I have something none of you have. Serena met the woman's eyes. I have nothing to lose and everything to prove. Edward and Richard had their chance. They used it to steal and cheat and destroy. I'm offering something different. Transparency, integrity, a fresh start. And if we refuse, then I exercise my 51% majority share and clean house anyway. Serena's voice hardened. But I'd rather do this together. I'd rather build something instead of burn something down. Silence. Long, heavy silence. Then the older board member stood again. I've known William Sterling since before he built this company. He was a good man, an honest man, and if he chose you... He looked at Serena with something like respect. Then I trust his judgment. You have my vote. And mine. Another board member stood. Mine as well. One by one, they rose, voices of support filling the room. By the time the vote was called, it was unanimous. Magnolia Grace Sterling was officially recognized as the heir to Sterling Industries. The journalists rushed forward with questions. The cameras flashed. The world watched. And Serena stood at the podium looking out at the room full of people who had just witnessed her transformation from orphan to billionaire and felt something she hadn't felt in years. Hope. After the meeting, Serena found Rachel waiting in the hallway. You did it. Rachel's eyes were wet. You actually did it. We did it. Serena hugged her. I couldn't have done any of this without you. What happens now? Now I visit my father, tell him it's over. Serena pulled back. And then I start rebuilding. Everything Edward destroyed, everything the Hartfords took, I'm going to make it right. And the Hartfords themselves, Richard and Victoria are finished, Edward is finished. Serena paused. Brandon and Camille will destroy each other. I don't need to do anything more. Is that enough after everything they did? Serena thought about it. The wine dripping down her face, the divorce papers shoved into her hands, the $500 thrown at her feet. No, she admitted. It's not enough. But it's justice, and sometimes justice is all we get. Her phone buzzed, Margaret's name on the screen. Serena. Margaret's voice was strained. You need to come to the hospital. Now. What happened? It's your father. He collapsed 20 minutes ago. A pause. The doctors say he doesn't have much time. The world tilted. I'm on my way. She ran, through the tower, through the parking garage, into her car. The drive to the hospital took 15 minutes. It felt like hours. When she burst through the doors of her father's room, the machines were beeping erratically. Doctors surrounded his bed. Margaret stood in the corner, tears streaming down her face. Dad? Serena pushed past the doctors. Dad, I'm here. William's eyes fluttered open. He looked so small, so fragile. Magnolia. His voice was barely a whisper. Did you do it? I did it. Edward's gone. Richard's gone. The company is mine. She grabbed his hand. You should have seen their faces. It was everything you wanted. A weak smile crossed his face. That's my girl. Don't leave me. Tears were falling now. She couldn't stop them. Please. I just found you. I can't lose you already. You're not losing me. His grip tightened. I'll always be with you. Me and your mother, watching over you. He coughed and blood flecked his lips. Promise me. Promise me you'll be happy. I promise. Promise me you'll use this for good. Help people the way no one helped you. I promise, Dad. Good. His eyes were closing. I can see her now. Your mother, she's smiling. Dad, I love you, Magnolia, from the moment you were born to my very last breath. His hand went limp. The monitors flatlined. The doctors moved in, but Serena knew. She knew before they said the words. Her father was gone. She collapsed over his body and sobbed. 28 years of separation, 3 months of reunion, and now he was gone forever. Margaret wrapped her arms around her. He saw it. He saw you take back everything. He died knowing his daughter was going to be okay. It's not fair. Serena's voice broke. I just found him. I just found him. I know. Outside, the sun was setting over Boston. Inside, a new chapter was beginning. William Sterling was dead, but his daughter was alive, and she was going to make every single day count. The funeral was held 3 days later. Serena stood at the front of the cathedral dressed in black, watching hundreds of people file past her father's casket. Business leaders, politicians, celebrities, people who had known William Sterling for decades, who had built empires alongside him, who had respected him in ways she was only beginning to understand. Margaret stood beside her, a silent pillar of support. How are you holding up? I'm not. Serena's voice was hollow. But I don't have the luxury of falling apart. You're allowed to grieve. Later. Right now I have to be what he needed me to be. She straightened her shoulders, strong. The service was beautiful. Speakers talked about William's generosity, his vision, his unwavering belief in doing business with integrity. They talked about his decades-long search for his missing daughter. They talked about the miracle of finding her just before the end. When it was Serena's turn to speak, she walked to the podium on legs that felt like they belonged to someone else. I knew my father for 3 months. Her voice carried across the silent cathedral. 3 months out of 28 years. It wasn't enough. It will never be enough. She paused, fighting for control. But in those 3 months, he gave me something I'd never had. A family. A purpose. A name. She looked at the casket. At the photograph of her father in his prime, smiling full of life. He spent 28 years searching for me. Never gave up. Never stopped believing I was alive somewhere waiting to be found. Her voice cracked. And when he finally found me broken and thrown away by people who called me worthless, he looked at me and said, "You were never trash. You were always my daughter." Tears were falling now. She didn't try to stop them. I made him a promise before he died. I promised to use this company, this power, this fortune for good, to help people who have no one, to build something beautiful from the ashes of corruption. She lifted her chin. I intend to keep that promise, every day, for the rest of my life. She stepped down from the podium. The cathedral erupted in applause, but Serena barely heard it. She was looking at the back of the room where a familiar figure had just slipped through the doors. Brandon Hartford. After the service, she found him waiting outside. He looked terrible. Unshaven, hollow-eyed, wearing a suit that hung off his frame like he'd lost 20 pounds in a week. What are you doing here? I needed to see you. His voice was raw. I needed to explain. There's nothing to explain. You made your choices. Now you're living with them. Camille left me. Brandon laughed bitterly. Took everything she could carry and disappeared. Derek didn't want her either. Turns out he was just using her to get at my family's money. Poetic. My parents are in federal custody. Priscilla won't return my calls. I have nothing left. He stepped closer. You destroyed everything, Serena, everything I ever had. No. She met his eyes without flinching. You destroyed everything. I just made sure the world saw what you really were. I loved you. Don't. Her voice cut like a blade. Don't you dare say that word to me. You never loved me. You loved having someone to control, someone to use, someone to throw away when you were done. That's not true. Isn't it? She pulled out her phone. I have the loan documents you forged, the bank records showing you stole my savings, the emails between you and your mother planning how to get rid of me without raising suspicions. She stepped closer. You didn't just divorce me, Brandon. You tried to destroy me. You wanted me to end up on the street with nothing, drowning in debt I didn't even know about. Brandon's face crumpled. I was desperate. My business was failing. My parents were threatening to cut me off. So you sacrificed me, the woman you promised to love and protect. Serena shook her head. Do you know what I thought about all those nights I worked 3 jobs while you gambled away my money? I thought about how lucky I was, how blessed, because I had a husband who loved me, a family who accepted me. Her voice broke. I was so grateful for crumbs, Brandon, and you couldn't even give me that. I'm sorry. Tears were streaming down his face now. I'm so sorry. Please tell me how to fix this. Tell me what I can do. There's nothing you can do. Serena stepped back. The debts I transferred back to your name, they're legally yours now. Every penny. My lawyers made sure of it. I can't pay those debts. I have nothing. Then I suggest you get a job. She turned away. I hear the gas station on 5th Street is hiring. Serena, wait. Goodbye, Brandon. She didn't look back. I hope you learned something from this. I hope you become a better person. But I don't ever want to see your face again. She walked away, leaving him standing alone outside the cathedral. It didn't feel like revenge. It felt like closure. And that was enough. 6 months passed. Sterling Industries transformed under Serena's leadership. She fired the executives who had enabled Edward's corruption. She brought in new blood, ethical, hungry, committed to doing things right. She opened the books, invited auditors, proved to the world that the company had nothing left to hide. The stock price, which had plummeted after Edward's arrest, began to climb. Investors who had fled came crawling back. Business partners who had distanced themselves started calling again. But Serena's favorite project wasn't about profit. The Catherine Sterling Foundation launched on what would have been her mother's 60th birthday. Its mission supporting orphans and foster children across the country. Scholarships, housing, mental health services, job training. Everything Serena had never had. You're giving away $50 million. Margaret looked up from the paperwork. In the first year alone, my father left me $47 billion. Serena signed the documents. I think I can spare $50 million for kids who have nothing. The board is nervous. The board will adjust. She set down her pen. My father told me to use this power for good. That's what I'm doing. Margaret smiled. He would be proud. I hope so. Serena looked at the photograph on her desk, the one she'd found in the archives. Her mother holding her as a baby. I really hope so. A knock on the door interrupted them. Rachel poked her head in. You have a visitor. Who? She says her name is Victoria Hartford. Rachel's expression was grim. She's begging to see you. Serena's jaw tightened. Send her in. Victoria Hartford looked nothing like the woman who had thrown wine in Serena's face 8 months ago. Her designer clothes were gone, replaced by cheap department store pieces. Her diamonds were gone. Her perfect hair was limp and gray. She looked old, broken, defeated. Miss Sterling. Victoria's voice trembled. Thank you for seeing me. I didn't invite you here, Mrs. Hartford. You have 2 minutes. I came to apologize. Victoria's hands were shaking. For everything. The way I treated you, the things I said, what I did at the Christmas party. You threw wine in my face and called me a filthy orphan in front of 200 people. I know, and I'm sorry. I was wrong. I was cruel. You were exactly who you always were. Serena stood. A bully. A snob. A woman who measured people's worth by their bank accounts and their bloodlines. I've changed. Have you? Serena walked around her desk. Or are you just desperate? Your husband is in federal prison. Your accounts are frozen. Your friends won't return your calls. You're living in a 1-bedroom apartment and working as a hotel housekeeper. Victoria flinched. How do you know that? I know everything, Mrs. Hartford. I've made it my business to know. Serena stopped inches from the woman. So tell me the truth. Are you here because you're genuinely sorry? Or are you here because you want something? Victoria's face crumbled. The mask she'd worn her entire life finally shattered. I need money. The words came out in a sob. I have nothing. Richard hid everything in accounts I can't access. The government seized our house. I can't afford my medication. I can't afford food. And you thought I would help you after everything you did to me? I don't have anyone else. Victoria was crying now. My children won't speak to me. My friends abandoned me. You're the only person who might what, take pity on you. Serena laughed. It was not a kind sound. Mrs. Hartford, do you remember what you said to me when you threw me out into the snow? You said I had nowhere to go. No family, no money, no one in the world who cared if I lived or died. Victoria sobbed harder. Now you know how that feels. Serena walked back to her desk. I'm not going to help you, not because I'm cruel, but because you need to learn what it's like to be treated the way you treated others. Please. However, Serena opened a drawer and pulled out a business card. The Catherine Sterling Foundation provides emergency assistance to people in need: housing, food, medical care. If you apply through the proper channels, you'll be treated like everyone else. Victoria stared at the card. Your foundation. My mother's foundation. It helps people who have nothing, even people who don't deserve it. Serena met Victoria's eyes. That's the difference between us, Mrs. Hartford. I could let you starve. I could let you suffer. But I choose not to, because I'm not like you. Victoria took the card with trembling hands. Thank you. Thank you. Don't thank me. Thank my mother. And maybe while you're standing in line with all the other people you would have called trash, you'll finally understand what it means to be treated with dignity. Victoria Hartford left without another word. Margaret watched her go. That was generous. That was justice. Serena sat down heavily. She'll get help, but she'll have to accept it from an organization named after the mother-in-law she never bothered to know. That's karma enough. 1 year after the Christmas party, Serena returned to St. Catherine's orphanage. It looked different now. Fresh paint, new windows, a playground that actually had equipment. The crumbling building where she'd spent her childhood had been completely renovated. Sister Mary, the nun who had been there when Serena was a child, met her at the door. Miss Sterling. The elderly woman's eyes were bright with tears. We can't thank you enough. This donation changed everything. It's not enough. Serena looked at the children playing in the courtyard. But it's a start. Would you like to meet them, the children? I'd like that very much. She spent the afternoon with the kids, reading stories, playing games, answering questions about her job and her life. One little girl, maybe 7 years old, tugged on her sleeve. Are you really a billionaire? I am. Were you really an orphan like us? I was. Serena knelt down to the girl's level. I grew up right here, in this building, sleeping on a cot just like the ones you have. But you're rich now. I am. So we can be rich too. Someday. Serena's heart squeezed. You can be anything you want to be. Rich, famous, happy. It doesn't matter where you come from. It matters where you're going. Promise. I promise. Serena hugged her. And I'm going to do everything I can to help you get there. She left the orphanage with tears in her eyes and a new project in mind. A scholarship program specifically for St. Catherine's graduates. Full ride to any college, any program, no strings attached. You're going to bankrupt yourself, Margaret said in the car. I'm worth $47 billion, Margaret. I couldn't spend it all if I tried. That's not the point. The point is that I'm alive because I survived that orphanage. I owe them everything. Serena watched the building disappear in the rearview mirror. Every child who walks through those doors deserves the chance I got. The chance to become something more than what the world expects. The 1-year anniversary of the Christmas party fell on a Tuesday. Serena spent the morning at Sterling Industries, signing contracts, reviewing proposals, building the empire her father had entrusted to her. She spent the afternoon at the foundation meeting with staff planning next year's initiatives, dreaming bigger than she'd ever dreamed before. But as evening approached, she found herself driving to a place she hadn't visited in months. The Hartford mansion was dark, abandoned. A for sale sign stood in the overgrown front yard, but no buyers had come forward. The house was too expensive, too notorious, too stained by scandal. Serena parked at the end of the driveway and stared at the building where her life had fallen apart. A year ago, she had walked out those doors with wine on her face and nothing in her heart but despair. She had collapsed on a bus stop bench, frozen and broken, certain that her life was over. Now she was sitting in a car worth more than the Hartford family's remaining assets, wearing clothes that cost more than Victoria's monthly salary, heading to a dinner with the governor where she would be honored for her philanthropic work. Funny how things change, she whispered to no one. Her phone rang. Rachel's name on the screen. Hey. Hey yourself, how are you holding up? Better than I expected. Serena started the car. It's strange. A year ago today, I thought my life was over. Now I can barely remember what that felt like. That's called healing. Is it? Or is it just distance? Does it matter? Rachel's voice was warm. You survived. You fought back. You won. That's what counts. I didn't win. I just stopped losing. Same thing sometimes. Serena pulled away from the mansion without looking back. Rachel. Thank you. For everything. For finding me. For believing in me. For standing beside me when everyone else would have run. Thank you for giving me a reason to believe in karma again. Rachel laughed. See you tomorrow. See you tomorrow. She hung up and drove toward the cemetery. Her parents' graves were side by side. Catherine Sterling, beloved wife and mother. William Sterling, devoted husband and father. Serena knelt between them, placing flowers on both headstones. I did it, she whispered. Everything you asked me to do. Edward is in prison. Richard is in prison. The company is thriving. The foundation is helping thousands of people. The wind rustled through the trees. Somewhere in the distance, a bird sang. I wish you could see it. I wish you could be here. Tears fell, but she didn't wipe them away. I spent my whole life feeling alone, invisible, worthless. And then I found you. Both of you. And everything changed. She touched her mother's headstone gently. I never got to meet you. But I see you every time I look in the mirror. I feel you every time I help someone who has no one else. You're part of me. You always were. Then her father's headstone. You gave me 3 months. 3 months to learn who I was. 3 months to become who I was supposed to be. Her voice broke. It wasn't enough, but it was everything. She stood brushing dirt from her knees. I'm going to make you proud. Both of you, every day, for the rest of my life. She walked away from the graves, but she didn't feel like she was leaving them behind. They were with her. They would always be with her. That night, Serena stood on the balcony of her penthouse looking out over the city. Boston sparkled below her. Millions of lights. Millions of lives. Millions of stories being written and rewritten every single day. A year ago, she had been at the bottom. Lower than the bottom. She had been a woman with no name, no family, no future. Now she was Magnolia Grace Sterling, CEO of a $47 billion company, founder of a foundation that had already helped 10,000 people, a woman who had faced the worst humanity had to offer and emerged stronger than she'd ever been. The Hartfords were destroyed. Richard was serving 15 years. Victoria was living in poverty, dependent on the charity of strangers. Brandon was working at a gas station, drowning in debt, abandoned by everyone he'd ever known. Priscilla had fled to Europe, too ashamed to show her face. Camille had disappeared completely, her dreams of wealth and status shattered beyond repair. Edward was serving 18 years in federal prison. His assets had been seized. His name had become synonymous with corporate greed and betrayal. And Serena was free. Free from the poverty that had defined her childhood. Free from the abuse that had defined her marriage. Free from the shame that had been forced upon her by people who had never seen her true worth. She was finally completely, irrevocably free. Margaret appeared in the doorway. The car is here. Are you ready for the dinner? Almost. Serena took one last look at the city. Margaret, do you think my father knew when he found me? Do you think he knew I could do all this? He knew you were his daughter. He knew you had your mother's strength and his determination. Margaret smiled. He knew you were capable of anything. I hope I've made him proud. You have. Every single day. Serena turned away from the balcony. She straightened her dress burgundy like the one Victoria had worn when she'd thrown wine in her face. She checked her reflection, confident, powerful, unbreakable. The woman looking back at her was not Serena Moore, the orphan who served champagne at parties where she wasn't welcome. She was Magnolia Sterling, daughter of William and Catherine, heir to an empire, builder of a legacy. She was exactly who she was always meant to be. Let's go, she said. I have a speech to give. The dinner was a triumph. The governor praised her work. Business leaders sought her advice. Journalists clamored for interviews. She navigated it all with grace, with poise, with the quiet confidence of a woman who had faced her worst fears and conquered them. At the end of the night, as she was leaving, a reporter caught her arm. Miss Sterling, one last question. Of course. A year ago, you were nobody. An orphan, a waitress, a woman thrown out of a Christmas party with nothing but the clothes on your back. The reporter leaned forward. How did you do it? How did you go from that to this? Serena considered the question. I stopped believing what they told me about myself, she said finally. For years, I let other people define my worth. My ex-husband, his family, the system that raised me. They all told me I was nothing, and I believed them. What changed? I discovered the truth. About who I was, about where I came from, about what I was capable of. She smiled. But more than that, I discovered that my worth was never determined by them. It was determined by me, by what I chose to do, by who I chose to become. Any advice for people who are going through what you went through? Serena thought about the little girl at the orphanage, about Rachel who had spent 4 years hiding in the shadows, about every person who had ever been told they were worthless by people who didn't deserve to judge them. Never let anyone else write your story, she said. They don't have the right. Only you know what you're capable of. Only you know what you can survive. And trust me. She looked directly into the camera. You can survive more than you think, and you can become more than they ever imagined. The reporter smiled. Thank you, Miss Sterling. Thank you. She walked out of the dinner and into the cold December night. Snow was falling, just like it had been a year ago, just like it had been the night everything changed. But this time she wasn't shivering. She wasn't crying, she wasn't broken. This time she was exactly where she belonged. Serena tilted her face toward the sky and let the snowflakes fall on her cheeks. I made it, she whispered. Mom, Dad, I made it. Somewhere above, she was certain they were watching, smiling, proud. And as she climbed into her car and drove toward her future, Serena knew one thing with absolute certainty. They had called her nothing. They had called her worthless. They had thrown wine in her face and $500 at her feet. But she had risen. From orphan to billionaire, from victim to victor, from Serena Moore to Magnolia Sterling. And this was just the beginning. Her name was Magnolia Grace Sterling, and she was exactly who she was meant to be: powerful, unbroken, and unstoppable. And that's how a woman who signed divorce papers in tears became the most powerful person in the room. If this story gave you chills, hit that like button right now. Subscribe and turn on all notifications because I have more powerful revenge stories coming that will restore your faith in karma. Comment below, did Serena go too far, or was this perfect justice? I read every single comment. Share this with someone who needs to remember, underestimating people can be the biggest mistake of your life. Thanks for watching. And remember, your darkest hour might be right before your greatest victory. See you in the next story.